everyone. I'm Miss Rachel from the Antioch Public Library District, and I'm here with today's Mad Scientist Club experiment. We're going to be learning all about energy and water temperature and what happens when you try to make a mixture using two separate ingredients in different temperatured water. We're going to start with some very hot water over here, and if you were in the room with me, you'd be able to see the steam coming off of this cup of water. This water is room temperature, and this water is ice cold. You're going to need to get 1 cup of hot water. You should probably put it, or milk will work too. You should probably put it in the microwave for about a minute, and in order to do this, you will need help from a grown-up. For the room temperature water, you're just going to want to take water straight out of your faucet, turn on the hot water tap, and pour it in until the glass is mostly full. And for the cold water, you're going to want to take a glass, fill it up with water, and stick it in your refrigerator for about 2 hours. I even put ice cubes in this water, which you can't see because I'd have to pour the water out in order to tilt it forward enough. Then you're going to take one of your hot chocolate packets from your kit, and you're going to pour it into the very hot water. We're doing this first because the hot water is going to cool down much faster than the room temperature water or the ice cold water. Now, what happens when you pour it in and you start stirring, you can use a coffee stick, you can use a spoon, you can use anything you have in your house that'll work. The hot chocolate powder and the water start to mix together immediately. The reason this happens is because the molecules that make up the water in the hot water are very, very active. When you heat up water, the molecules start to move around more and more, which is what makes it hot. And if you could look in here, and I will, once I'm finished with this demonstration, I will make a second video, which I will edit into this video, of what they look like from above, so you can actually see what your hot chocolate and hot water is supposed to look like. But this looks very, very delicious. In fact, I'm going to have a sip. Well, that's good. Next, you're going to take your packet of hot cocoa, your second one, and you're going to pour it into your second cup. And because this water is a little bit warmer, it's going to absorb some of the powder, but it's not going to get all of it, because hot cocoa is water soluble and milk's fat soluble actually, and it's able to absorb some water because we do put fat in here, so it does make it water soluble, whereas cocoa powder is just the powder and has no fat in it, but there's some milk in the hot cocoa powder, so that's what makes it work. And so some of the powder is going to be absorbed by the water, but not all of it. Soluble just means that it dissolves in water or fat, like milk or oil. And as I'm stirring it, some of it is going in, but it's still very thick and powdery. And it looks kind of like pudding, actually. It's very interesting. I'd be curious to see how this tastes, but I want to get it nice and mixed up. And so the water molecules inside of this water are probably moving at their normal speed because this is the temperature that it comes out at. And so while we're able to get some mixture, as you can see from my stir stick, it's already getting chocolate powder stuck to it, which it didn't do. And there's a froth, whipped up milk, the milk fat on top, because it's separating, because it won't all mix in with the room temperature water. It's very interesting to see, and you'll get to see that in just a minute. There is some froth on the top of the hot one, but that only happens when it starts to separate, and as soon as you start to stir it, it all goes away. I am going to test this one too because it does look nice. Not quite as chocolatey as the hot water. Now when we add the cocoa powder to the cold water, the molecules have been slowed down. Molecules are the pieces of water which are made up of oxygen and hydrogen, H2O, 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Atoms are, of course, the teeny tiny particles that make up everything in the universe. And so what happens when I add the powder to the cold water is that it simply won't mix in, or some of it will, but most of it won't, because the molecules are moving so slowly here. And when I first started stirring in the room temperature water, you did see some of the powder, or I saw some of the powder, you can't see it, going in, but this still looks like sludge. It's just powder right on top of the water, and no matter how much I stir, it's not all going to go in. And if I tried to take a sip, I would get a mouthful of powder. So we are probably not going to taste test this one. because on top of not wanting a whole bunch of cocoa powder in my mouth, which would make me cough on camera, I don't think this looks very appetizing. It's all thick and gross, and it looks like when you make, I don't know if you've ever made a dirt cup, which is a cup of pudding with crushed Oreos on top, but you know how when you mix that up, you still get a lot of the crushed Oreos on the top, and that's all you can really see? Well, this looks kind of like that. And no matter how much I stir, no matter how long I get at it, the water simply won't take the powder. It's going to take a little tiny bit, but it's mostly just most of the powder is just sitting on top. As you can see, I can scoop it right out of there. If I had a spoon, I'd be able to see that even better. And now I'm going to turn off the camera and turn it back on so that I can put it in a different position so you can see into the water cups and you can see exactly what we did here and see what your experiment should look like when you follow my instructions at home. So I'm going to put this down and turn off the camera, and I'll be back in just a second. But it won't seem very long to you because I'll edit these two videos together later. I'm standing here holding my phone up over the cups of water, and as you can see, the one all the way to my left is very well mixed together. It looks like a normal cup of hot chocolate. The one in the middle looks a little powdery, but mostly good. And the one on the end, here, I'm going to zoom in on all of them. That looks like a chocolate cake. Except it's not. It's really powdery and gross. And if I stick my finger in there, let me see if I can get this on camera. You can see that it's just the powder and not cake. The one in the middle is mostly mixed together, but you can still see some of that powder that didn't get absorbed around the rim, and the froth from the milk fat separating from the hot cocoa mixture. And then here, all the way on the other end, you have the hot cocoa, which is in fact delicious and perfectly mixed. It would work even better if I'd used milk, but I didn't have any milk. And now that our experiment is finished, I'm here to say goodbye, and then I'll see you next time when we do another meeting of our Mad Scientist Club. Have a great day!